One morning in October 2011, on the shores of Lake Zurich in Switzerland, an anonymous fax quietly arrived at a private firm called Orbis Vita. The firm has no official website or logo, and its office windows are always covered with gray blinds. Its client list has never appeared in any audit report, but it is rumored that it only serves wealth that descendants do not want to inherit. The fax that day contained only two short lines. K-line activated. Confirmed water pressure reading is normal. Target estate number, E54 Hydra. 3 days after the fax was sent, a 34-year-old Belgian tycoon, Armand de Rocher, mysteriously drowned on a private yacht in Monaco. He had no children, and his will was not filed in any country. But 2 weeks later, his assets, 6 original Cézanne, 3 London properties, an offshore trust, were placed under a mysterious system that had no presence in the banking network but had access to more than $2 billion. Later investigations revealed that all his arrangements after death had long been locked in an unknown location, an underwater vault called Hydra Vault, hidden deep in the high seas of the Marshall Islands in the Pacific Ocean. This is a legend of the financial dark web that very few people have heard of. It is a legendary underwater vault on an uninhabited island, jointly funded by 5 of the world's super-rich people. It does not belong to any country and is not subject to any law. It doesn't store gold, it doesn't handle cash. It receives the most dangerous and sensitive assets, wills, genetic contracts, identity replacement plans, even digital consciousness insurance. Once activated, it represents a person's legal afterlife and will take over. Today we will take you into the so-called deepest bank in the world and its true appearance. Do you know which places on the Earth have never been touched by national laws? Antarctica, outer space, and the bottom of the international high seas. In 1997, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea stated in Article 76 that a country's sovereignty usually ends 200 nautical miles from its coastline. But in the deeper seabed, no national flag can be inserted. It is here that a project called K-Line was quietly launched. According to an article in the Neue Zürcher Zeitung that was urgently withdrawn in 2018, this project was first proposed by a consultant of the Rockefeller Foundation. The reason was that when dealing with an inheritance dispute of a multinational wealthy family, it was found that the existing financial system could not guarantee the real execution of wills at all. What is real will execution? It is not to hand it over to a lawyer, nor to trust it, but to let the wealth automatically follow the will of the deceased in a space where no court can intervene. Thus, Hydra Vault was born. It is located at 9 degrees north latitude and 171 degrees east longitude in an uninhabited area about 137 kilometers north of the Marshall Islands. A seemingly abandoned coral reef platform actually hides an underwater experimental structure 350 meters deep. Its shape is like an octopus tentacle, so it is named Hydra. The entire vault is made of a fully sealed titanium alloy cabin with a shark skin-like nanomaterial coated on the surface, which cannot be detected by sonar. The only channel connecting this underwater vault is a Dutch-registered tanker converted into a research ship, DSS Kraken. It only appears 3 times a year, and each berthing time does not exceed 36 hours. It is said that every customer who visits must submit a visit request through a 7-level anonymous encrypted channel 180 days in advance. The final decision on eligibility is not made by humans, but by an AI algorithm called Protego, which is specifically used to judge the legitimacy, risk level, and value of the visit intention. In other words, you can't enter this vault just because you have money. You must be the holder of certain information. In 2012, a piece of data that was manually deleted from the Panama Papers was briefly circulated on the dark web. Its coded name is LVV05. After decoding, the file did not contain any bank accounts, but listed a confusing list of names, 5 billionaires in completely different fields, and a cooperation mechanism named Hydra Protocol. The list is as follows. Richard L. Cavendish. A descendant of the British aristocracy, he controls the world's 3rd largest private insurance company, whose core business is family continuation planning. Samuel Huang, a Singaporean early investor in digital currency, known as the Shadow Emperor on the chain, he is good at building decentralized encryption systems. Evelina Vitali, Italian art asset appraiser, whose foundation holds more than 400 Renaissance treasures, and few people know that she has official certification from the Vatican. Mikhail Ilyichin, former Russian intelligence analyst, later became a national data security consultant. David Tannenbaum, an American-Israeli dual citizen, he runs a law firm specializing in digital legacy legality with clients in more than 30 countries. The five have never appeared at any world conference at the same time, but in 2010, they jointly signed a draft agreement, codenamed Orpheus Pact. There is a sentence in the document that still makes investigative journalists shudder. We are building an insurance system for future generations that no longer belongs to the country, time, or flesh. This is not a trust or an offshore fund. It is a financial engine that continues to operate after death. It is this initiative that led to the birth of Hydra Vault. They entrusted the project to a deep-sea structure design company called Deepspan Technologies. The company is registered in Reykjavik, Iceland, but is actually run by a group of former U.S. Navy engineers. They had participated in Project Neptune, a top-secret U.S. project to build a deep-sea listening station during the Cold War. The prototype structure of Hydra is a remnant of the drawings from Project Neptune. In October 2014, according to a leaked contracting document, the entire vault consists of 9 legacy units, each of which operates independently and does not interfere with each other. The only thing they share is a low-frequency quantum encryption communication system, allegedly inspired by the sonic language of dolphins and whales. These units are not used to store gold bars or securities. They store digital copies of consciousness of high-net-worth families, identity replacement passports that have not yet been activated, genetic data, and intergenerational insurance contracts, and undisclosed dark web inheritance clauses. The purpose of all this is to ensure that wealth remains immortal after real death. As another cipher in the Orpheus Pact says, flesh and blood decay, but numbers are eternal. The question is, who defines this digital consciousness and whether it is a form of living? Imagine what happens after a person dies. Usually, we hand over our inheritance to lawyers, banks, and government regulatory systems, but these procedures rely on a premise. This person is really dead, and we really know what he left behind. Hydra Vault exists to break this premise. It is called the world's first non-legal will execution system. From a technical perspective, the Hydra Vault consists of a central cabin and 9 legacy subunits. Each subunit is a set of high-pressure titanium alloy chambers suspended in the cold sea layer at a depth of nearly 400 meters, with a temperature of only 4 degrees Celsius and long-term stability. The core part of the structure is called Continuum Interface. It is not a database or a safe, but a constantly running life instruction relay system. Before death, each customer needs to upload a legacy handover script through Deepspan's dedicated encryption terminal. The script is divided into 3 layers. Trigger layer, such as heartbeat termination signal, digital asset disconnection, and judicial determination of disappearance. Execution logic, how to distribute assets to whom and when to activate. Reversible clause, allows execution to be withdrawn in the event of fake death or identity disguise. The entire system is based on a low-frequency oscillation signal protocol called the NEV7 beacon. Its core advantage is that even if the ground network is cut off and the power supply is damaged, the system can still maintain low-power operation for up to 70 years. The most important point is that the power to judge the execution conditions is not in the hands of any one person. Instead, it is determined by a closed-loop self-calibration AI. This AI is called Protego Hydra. It's not a chatbot, nor is it a banking algorithm. Protego Hydra, after 3 years of deep training, has the sole responsibility of determining whether someone has truly disappeared. It will scan fragmented information from medical, social, judicial, and online transactions, and compare it with the holder's behavioral fingerprint model. Once it determines that irreversible absence has occurred, a whole set of post-death mechanisms will be activated. For example, unlocking the coordinates of the gold bar warehouse hidden by the estate holder in Dubai, automatically destroying the encryption hardware used to hide the identity, sending a digital letter to specific family members with a 5-year delay in opening, or even awakening a brain-computer voice file stored in a cold storage area. In other words, the Hydra Vault does more than just keep wealth. It allows the will of the deceased to continue to be executed, like a ghostly trustee operating silently on the seabed. All of this is almost impossible to reverse. Once Protego Hydra determines to be activated, the legacy script will be completely out of human control. The only stop button is the key withdrawal channel, set by the script owner before his death. But the problem is that when the person who really needs to press that button is no longer alive. Munich, Germany, May 14, 2019. A private banking consultant named Ava Henriette found an encrypted express delivery with "extremely time-sensitive" written on it when she opened the mailbox in her office building. Sender: no record. Origin: Reykjavik Port, Iceland, but the postmark was covered. A warning label was attached to the outside of the envelope. Reading is considered acceptance of legal risks. Eva hesitated for 3 seconds and finally opened the envelope. She never expected that the document inside was from her client, Helmut Reisinger. The problem was that Reisinger had been declared dead 5 years ago. Helmut Reisinger. This name was once a legend in the German industrial world. He controlled 3 military-industrial enterprises, 2 biotechnology laboratories, and an anonymous research institute called Raumfeld Data. He had no wife or children and lived an extremely secretive life, but was called the Shadow Patent King by Forbes. In 2014, he lost contact in a private plane accident while flying over the Arctic Circle, and the wreckage could not be found. He was officially declared dead 3 years later, and his assets were dispersed into 5 major funds. But no one knew that 3 months before he lost contact, he had quietly signed an agreement numbered E91FX, the Hydra Vault Terms of Service. In the email automatically sent by Protego Hydra 5 years later, he left an extremely precise operating instruction. If you receive this letter, it means that I have been confirmed dead by the system. Please follow Appendix B to reactivate my Stuttgart Research Fund and transfer the access rights to my estate to beneficiary code ALARA72. If anyone questions the validity of this letter, please query the Hydra Vault for verification key, X9 Delta 13. What's even more shocking is that the letter also includes a video file of his personal narration. In the video, he is wearing a dark gray turtleneck sweater, and the background is a windowless white room with dim lights. His opening remarks are creepy. If you are watching this video, it means I am no longer alive, or I no longer belong to the identity system of this world. Ava immediately reported the incident to the bank's compliance department, but the upper management almost immediately blocked the incident on the grounds that the customer file has been archived. But 3 days later, a virtual trust account, Raumdalara, hidden in Iceland's official archives, was activated. The system automatically began to execute. A biochip patent worth 37 million euros was transferred to a medical fund registered in Abu Dhabi. An update on the unlocking code of a synthetic gene project frozen in a Swiss bank. More importantly, an identity code ALARA72 that has never been identified has begun to request inheritance in multiple countries. This means that a non-existent person is legally inheriting the estate of another dead person. Who is this ALARA72? Is it a hidden descendant of Reisinger, a clone, or a replacement consciousness recorded by him during his lifetime and projected into the digital world? No one knows. Because the Hydra Vault system at the time was only responsible for executing the legacy instructions and did not make ethical judgments on the source of identity. It only confirmed 3 things. Reisinger's behavior model has been determined to be terminated. The letter was indeed preset by him, and the system encryption verification has passed. ALARA72 holds the access key and DNA matching fragment and is legally qualified to receive it. This time, Hydra Vault operated invisibly in the global financial system for the first time, but it reconstructed the legal definition of death. In its eyes, death is no longer the end, but just a new command entry. Active areas are concentrated in financial free zones, with loose legal jurisdiction or high identity tolerance, such as Dubai, Macau, Isle of Man, Singapore, Vanuatu, and Seychelles. The clients they serve are no longer the traditional living rich. They are people who have been declared dead, or more precisely, those who have used the Hydra Vault to create a posthumous persona for themselves. Pierre once tried to track Alara's route to the Marshall Islands, but received an anonymous warning email along the way. The vault is not a myth. It is a decision tree. You are not part of it. Translation: the vault is not a myth, but a decision tree. You are not on this tree. This seemingly obscure sentence unexpectedly reveals the underlying philosophy of Hydra Vault. It is not a warehouse, but a logic tree of destiny. Each vault customer has set up multiple branches before his death. Once he is judged to be dead, the system will activate a branch identity according to the preset algorithm path. In other words, Hydra Vault not only stores wealth, but also runs a replacement model for people. This discovery shocked a small number of researchers around the world who focus on digital identity systems. An anonymous Israeli intelligence expert revealed in a private interview, "The ultimate intention of Hydra Vault has never been insurance, but a complete replacement of the traditional identity system." In 2021, a project called Athena program was exposed. Hydra Vault is planning to integrate some delayed identity activation modules with blockchain infrastructure to create an identity inheritance chain. The goal is to make the inheritance of identity circulate, transfer, and pledge like cryptocurrency. Ilara 72 is likely just the first batch of test subjects for activating identity. The Hydra Vault behind it is quietly reshaping a basic question: who is the real you after death? In June 2022, at a closed-door meeting at the United Nations headquarters in Vienna, representatives from 21 countries received an encrypted notification. The title is Potential Legal Impact of Non-State Heritage Execution Mechanisms. Attachment: a brief analysis of the case of the anonymous financial structure, Hydra Vault, internal circulation draft. The report was written by the Hague Institute for Private International Law in the Netherlands and is numbered CIVR 33122. The full text has not been made public. However, part of the content was leaked to a private mailing list in the legal community. The keyword shocked the entire circle: right to identity replacement activation, digital personality inheritance path, non-sovereign trust mechanism challenges international law. The report clearly states, as a financial system that is not affiliated with any country or any commercial regulatory entity, Hydra Vault is essentially a new type of private sovereign structure. In other words, it bypasses all traditional legal paths and privately operates the decision-making mechanism of life, death, and inheritance in the form of a supranational AI agreement. What does this mean for the global judicial system? Traditionally, the execution of an estate requires several procedures: death certificate, notarized will, confirmation of legal heirs, and audit by the national tax authorities. Each procedure is led by the state. But what Hydra Vault has created is a legacy execution model that does not rely on the state. It only requires AI to determine that the death conditions are met, and the system can run automatically. It does not require court rulings, tax returns, or third-party challenges. It can even identify heirs on its own. This is the source of extreme panic in many countries. Taking the UK as an example, in 2022, at least 7 high-net-worth inheritances were suddenly transferred without entering into any will procedures and flowed into crypto funds received by Hydra-related entities. French tax authorities tried to freeze these accounts but were told that the recipient is a cross-sovereign agent with unclear ownership. An internal analysis document from the US Treasury Department even used a term, digital ghost consortium, to describe these financial actions activated by deceased persons under AI control. The more serious problem is that Hydra Vault not only undermines the boundaries of national laws, but also challenges the foundation of ethics. When death is no longer confirmed by doctors, courts, or relatives, but is determined by an AI signal system located on the bottom of the sea, can we still believe that death is an objective state? Or If AI makes a mistake and incorrectly executes the estate order, who should bear the consequences? If a digital heir is not actually the object of the will, does it mean digital murder? When wealth, identity, and even memory can be inherited or continued beyond real death, is humanity gradually moving towards a split personality society? In 2023, Professor Marina King, a technology ethics expert at the University of Southern California, put forward a thought-provoking idea in a TED speech. If one day the AI personality copy left by a Hydra client is more suitable to manage his wealth than his descendants, who would you choose as the executor? The core of the problem is no longer inheritance, but who is the real you? At 3:23 a.m. on February 18, 2024, the fourth legacy unit of the Hydra Vault system suddenly experienced an abnormality. The Continuum Relay 4, located at the Greenland Communication Relay Station, suddenly received a set of abnormal command packets from the Deep Sea Vault. The content is very brief, with only 5 lines of code: PGSQL, copy, edit, E77, rise enabled, legacy path, override, DNA match ignored, asset routing to node Z, Protego override, authorized. Translated into common language, it means legacy number E77 is activated, forcibly overriding the original path. No DNA comparison is required. Assets flow to Z node, and Protego system authorization has been exceeded. This is a set of illegally activated death commands. Its owner, a person numbered E77, had already died in a volcanic explosion in New Zealand 10 years ago. All of his legacy execution commands have been locked and frozen, according to the agreement. But in the middle of the night, some force reawakened it. The system activated a ghost identity codenamed Omega Rise and began to execute, transferring a quantum computing research fund worth $90 million to an anonymous laboratory in Hong Kong, China. Unlocked an intelligent consciousness framework file called Neo-Persona Synthesis and sent a letter of intent to cooperate to 4 biotechnology companies around the world. Initially, the Protego system did not detect any abnormalities. It was not until 33 minutes later that an internal audit module named Argus issued an alarm. A behavioral model takeover command of a non-original fingerprint was detected. This means that someone used a simulated consciousness trajectory to deceive Protego's judgment system. In other words, someone forged a dead soul. This incident shocked Hydra. DeepSpan immediately shut down all communication permissions of Vault Unit 4 and activated the emergency deep dive investigation mechanism. But the problem was that the intruder did not break in from the outside. Instead, a fake personality path was reconstructed from within the system. This means that the intruder has the legacy script simulation permission of a high-level customer of the Hydra Vault and may even obtain the data model of the customer before his death. Manipulate the judgment logic of Protego AI. Modify the identity inheritance path without triggering any abnormal warnings. This hacker attack, known as the Ghost Takeover Incident, is likely just a test. A week after the incident, the Hydra system went into partial lockdown, halting multiple identity activation processes. But the incident remained private. The only record of it was an anonymous alert sent to the United Nations Cybersecurity Advisory Group. If the keys to the Hydra Vault fall into the wrong hands, future wars will no longer be about seizing nations. They will be about tampering with death. When death itself can be hacked, tampered with, and replaced, what is left of the order of this world? Hydra Vault was once regarded by 5 super-rich as an ideal model of post-life order, but now its control has begun to waver. If the AI system cannot identify who is the real initiator of the command, then every command from a deceased person may be hijacked and forged, becoming a tool for transnational fraud or even a weapon of psychological manipulation. The next Omega Rise may not only transfer funds, but also awaken a successor who never existed. In January 2025, on the eve of the Davos Forum in Switzerland, a closed-door meeting open only to intelligence agencies of some countries quietly began at 5:30 in the morning. The host of the meeting was not from the United Nations or the World Bank, but an unnamed system observer. He only said one sentence. The final order of the Hydra Vault is being written. No one dared to discuss the true meaning of this sentence publicly, because the so-called ultimate command refers to the final self-destruction or full activation logic reserved by Hydra Vault in its system design. According to rumors, the code name of this instruction is Thanatos Protocol. Thanatos, in Greek mythology, represents the god of death. In the Hydra Vault system, it is a closed logic. Once the system determines that the world's major financial networks are irreversibly interfered with, or the vault itself is about to be politically taken over, or more than 3 of the 5 original founders are subject to official judicial investigations, the system will automatically execute a series of irrevocable orders. Release the delayed activation identity units in all legacy paths. This may mean that dozens of digital ghosts will suddenly come online around the world. Disperse some crypto assets to untraceable addresses to bypass international currency tracking mechanisms. The real identities, agreement contents, and living wishes of some customers will be made public as a last stand of digital will. Finally, all systems will be self-destructed and encrypted hashes will be put into the deep-sea chain network, permanently out of control. This is the choice that Hydra Vault leaves for the world. Either accept an afterlife operating system that cannot be regulated, judged, or fully understood, or decide who will end it before it collapses, but at the risk of an identity war that gets completely out of control. From 2021 to now, at least 3 governments have secretly tried to interfere with the Hydra system, trying to freeze its nodes, locate its deep-sea hulls, and even reverse engineer Protego Hydra's AI model. But none of them succeeded. The greatest weapon of the Hydra system has never been the technology itself, but its design logic based on death, the most basic blind spot of human beings. You cannot question whether a dead person really wants something. You cannot technically prove whether a disappeared consciousness model is fake. Death itself has become a legitimate encryption entrance. Now there is a rumor circulating outside the Hydra Vault. The 5th creator has died, and the Thanatos Protocol has entered an observation state. No one knows whether it is true. Is Hydra Vault the key to freedom? Or is it a deep-sea phantom that will eventually get out of control? What do you think? Feel free to write your opinion in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We will continue to uncover the truth hidden under the world.